Comedian Jack Barry's radio show airs for the very first time. The Revenue Act of 1932 is enacted, essentially creating the first gasoline tax in USA, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average bottoms out at 42.22 points. The year is 1932, and this very elegant Nash could be had at your local Nash dealer. And isn't it funny that America's most beautiful cars that were ever made were built during an era where nobody had money? This car definitely fits the title of Kenosha Duesenberg. But before getting into all of it, I'm your host, Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that features cars like you've never saw them before. Some channels just walk around with some music track. I'm not knocking those channels, but you don't really get to know what the cars are really like. We dive in deep on the history, specs, design. If any of that sounds of interest to you, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Real quick, a couple of announcements. Crankshaft, which is an automotive quarterly publication. It has articles dealing with cars, old ads, and it features just about everything automotive. There are interviews in that magazine. I got interviewed, I should say. So if you want to see that, it will be in the February issue. Also, for those that have never made it to the end of one of these videos, I just wanted to tell you that we do a slow motion walk around without any sound. There isn't any commentary, and it gives you the opportunity to see these cars in all of their glory, like you've never saw them before. It also shows where all the trim goes and looks like, and all the fine detail that you just don't get to see from far away. In 1932, Nash was offered into series. The easiest way to tell the difference between the series is the first series used flathead engines. The Nash 6 960, which used a flathead 6. And then you had three different offerings offering the flathead 8 with the Nash 970, Nash 980, and Nash 990. The second series used overhead valve twin ignition engines, the big Nash 6 1060, followed by the Special 8 1080, which used a 100 horsepower overhead valve twin ignition 8, and then perched at the top was the Advanced 8 and the Ambassador 1090. Tons of models, right? The Ambassador models ride the longest wheelbase that Nash offered, 142-inch wheelbase. The Advanced 8 has roughly the same body style, but it rides a shorter 133-inch wheelbase. The 1932 Advanced 8 could be had in body styles such as, but not limited to, two-door convertible roadster, two-door four-passenger coupe, which our car is, Victoria, four-door sedan, four-door convertible sedan. Nash would offer the Advanced 8 from 1932 through 1935, but it's worth mentioning that the motor, the twin ignition engine, was offered from 1930 through 1942. And what sets the Nash Ambassador and the Advanced 8 series apart from all of the other Nash offerings was it was known in Nash circles as Series 1090. It got the slanted windshield, visors were eliminated, it had more sweeping lines, especially with the fenders, semi-beaver tail rear quarter, vertical V-grille, chrome-plated headlights, and that is according to the 1805 through 1942 standard catalog. So, let's just take a minute and look at the overall design of this 1932 Nash Advanced 8. The very first thing you'll probably notice is that it sits pretty low, and that came courtesy to the rear worm drive, which was only available on the Special 8 Series 1080, as well as the Advanced 8 and Ambassador Series 1090. All the other models use spiral bevel drive. The windshield almost looks like it's chopped from the factory, but that's just how they were. The body isn't low slung like, say, a 1932 or 33 Chrysler Imperial, or a Ruxton or an L29 Cord, but it has the same sort of look because both the windshield being short and the overall car being low. Let's talk specs. It rides a wheelbase of 133 inches. It weighs 4,300 pounds. Price, $1,695, which would be equivalent to you spending $39,047.48 in the year 2025. An absolute bargain for this car. Total 1932 Nash was 30,834 units. It's believed to be maybe 1,891 of those are allegedly the Ambassador series, but it's unknown. And it sounds kind of bad, But you have to remember, this was at the height or the worst year of the Great Depression, and Nash was profitable, making over $1 million in profit. Only General Motors was the only other company, according to the standard catalog from 1805 to 1942, that made a profit during 1932. Moving on to engine, only one engine available for the Advanced 8 and Ambassador series, which was the 322 cubic inch displacement overhead valve inline twin ignition 8 5.3 liters. It was good for 125 horsepower at 3600 RPM. This is just an estimate, 200 pound-feet or 271 newton meters around 1800 RPM with a bore of 3.4 inches and a stroke of 4.5 inches. Compression was 525 to 1. This engine featured 9 main bearing solid valve lifters. It was fed with a Stromberg UUR.2 carburetor. This engine uses 2 coils, 2 ignition points and condensers, but a single distributor, 2 spark plugs that fire at the same time. And the thought process was that it would get better fuel economy because it would burn fuel better, and it was more reliable. If one spark plug was to fail, you had a backup spark plug. Much like in aviation engines. Synchro mesh transmission, freewheeling, and chassis lubricator. With the press of a button, you can lubricate all of the key components in the chassis. This car also features ride control, where a separate oil line forces oil pressure into the shocks. 3 settings. You could have soft, there's a middle setting, and then firm. Weststock styling on this absolutely gorgeous car. Just look at these marker lights here. All of the different design and detail going on with that. Has a center spine. The fenders have this awesome beading effect that runs the perimeter. Wire wheels with Nash logo. Look at the cascading and the pinstriping. Bumpers are pretty simplistic but elegant. Just look at how this bumper attaches to the car. And this negative space down here with all the bead work. This grille is incredible. Twin ignition 8, teardrop shape. This bar that goes in between the fenders for structural rigidity comes to a point here, just like the grille does. The headlights are mounted to it, as well as the headlights are also mounted at the base, mounted down here to the fender. Dual horns, huge lights. Here's my hand for reference. Another Nash badge. Just take a look at this mascot and just look at all of the detail in this hood ornament design. Notice her hair is flowing back. It's a mermaid. All of the detail leading up to it on the pedestal here. This car does have a center line, which trim piece covers up the piano hinge for the butterfly hood. Notice the different colors. Also notice all of this detail here on the headlight bucket. The headlight bucket is bright. Here's a back look of the housing for the running lights. Look, it's almost like a heart shape when looking down. This one has beautiful side louvers. Spare tire is in this case, which sits in the running board. Beautiful beads. This car has 2 cowl vents, his and her windshield wipers, and look at how these are designed. Very, very petite windshield wiper arms. I love the fact that it's bent so that it sits up out of the way. This one has the canvas top. Car does have drip rails which start right here and run the cabin of the car. Side mirrors are located right here and they are attached to the door. Notice the door hinge design. 3 door hinges. I love this beadwork. Fenders are so elegantly styled. How it kicks out the back here. The beadwork mimics the front fenders. Bright tail lights. Back bumper mimics the front bumper. This one has a trunk rack that can slide down. Gas filler is on the driver's side and the cap is painted body color. This is a step pad. This is another step pad. And then the rumble seat would be right there. Glass window in the back. So the door opens up 90 degrees. They'll have plenty of access to get into the cabin. Also notice on the door, it tapers as it comes down. And it's two-tone. How cool. Broadcloth material. So the owner was telling me that this is painted simulated wood. It's simulated to look like wood. It's actually metal that's painted, which is really cool. He did a really good job on that. Door handle to get out. Window crank for the big window. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, the handbrake off to the side. Clutch, brake, gas pedal. Just take a look at this interior. Has a nice parcel shelf behind. And the window in the back goes down with that T-handle right there. That's really cool. It has a retractable back glass. There is a dome light in the center. Here's what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood would look like. I feel like $1 million driving this thing. Up above, there's a crank. I would assume the crank is for the crank out windshield. So just notice the headliner. It looks like a broadcloth. Rear view mirror in center. It's hard to see at this angle, but right on the other side of the intake manifold, there is a hole in the block that goes to the other side of the engine for the spark plugs to come through. There are 8 spark plugs on this side of the engine because it has twin ignition. Also notice the cable that controls the choke. And just look at that. Beautiful work of art. It's got a generator down here with a shaft that drives the water pump. 2-barrel updraft carburetor. Notice the intake and the exhaust is on the same side. Huge air cleaner. Here's a picture of the other side of the engine. Clearly it's not the same car because our car is green and this one's orange, but you can see that there's a distributor with 16 spark plugs going into it. And then right on the other side, that's where the hole is for the other 8 spark plug wires to go to the other side of the block. On the firewall, you can see there's 2 coils. This one has an outside the block oil filtration system, which is in that canister. On the positive side, epic car definitely deserves the title of Kenosha Duesenberg, underrated car. These are still affordable. Just take a look at this convertible sedan that I found that recently, well, not just recently, this was back in 2020, but it sold for $41,000. Convertible sedan, absolute bargain for this caliber of car. If this car said Dusenberg on the side, it would be worth millions. CCCA, classic car status type of car. Against it, it is mechanically complex with the twin ignition setup. These are not well known, and the people that cherish these are few and far between. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today, and these may or may not be in the same price point, but which one would you rather have? 1932 Packard Light 8, which was Packard's first attempt at an affordable car, or 1932 Nash Advanced 8, or 1932 Auburn 8. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, a bit outside the box, but which one would you rather have? 1932 Graham Blue Streak, or 1932 Nash Advanced 8, or 1932 Studebaker President. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band, song title, and the lyric, the line that comes next, will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. So, I need the name of the band, song title, and the lyric that comes right after that. First person to get all 3 will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. I apologize, it's a little bit later than what we're normally try to do, but thank you all so much if you come out and watch the live. We try to premiere all of these episodes live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'm down in the comment section with you guys. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or you can always send me an email at what_its_like@yahoo.com. Thanks again for everything that you guys bring in the comment section. Before we go, though, I wanted to show you this. I don't normally do this, but these cars are so cool, and like they rarely come up for sale. I did show that one for $41,250 that was sold at RM in 2020, but there were a couple other ones. Like this one was from 1934, and it just recently sold for like $35,000. But there was one outlier that sold for $300,000 plus. But I'm just going to leave this here, and then we're going to go right into the after party. Welcome to the after show. This part of the video doesn't have any sound or commentary, but you get to see this car in its entirety, up close and personal, like you've never saw it before. Enjoy.